Really? You think so? Okay. Return to the Coille Dhìomhair. Hello everyone, I'm Father Aaron. Welcome to the Dungeon Minister! Our heroes have charged into the Snarewood, the Coille Dhìomhair, the secret forest, in pursuit of the doppelganger. The doppelganger who became a panther because I'd been watching too much Terminator 2, and I got excited about the whole transformation thing. That and a lot of Manimal back in the 80s. Yeah, but I watched every episode. They can see the doppelganger disappearing into the forest ahead of them when out from behind a tree steps the Satyr. He looks at them and says, "What are you doing in the Coille Dhìomhair?" Well, they've read enough mythology to know that dealing with a satyr is going to be a dicey proposition. He's not always going to tell the truth. He's not always going to be reliable. They know this much. And so they're cautious in their approach to him. We're pursuing a doppelganger. He has run into your forest. He has fouled your forest with his presence. We want to capture him. He is responsible for murder back in the human village. Murder in the village, murder in the square. What terrors happened there? Okay, the DM's gonna try to rhyme. All right. Please, could you just let us pursue him? We won't harm anything in your forest. We won't cause any trouble. You wish to seek him here or there? You wish to seek him everywhere. Do you know just what you seek? Are you strong or are you weak? Okay, Papa, stop it, please. I won't reproduce the entire conversation that they had with the satyr. Thanks. Because, frankly, I don't remember all the silly rhymes I made. But they have a conversation with the satyr, and he is vague. He is elusive in his answers. He's not going to give them a straight reply. Finally, he says, you seek, you wish to know. To find a doppelganger, though, is not so easy. He could be anyone, you or me. At this point, they begin to worry. Could this be the doppelganger? No, they're sure they saw the doppelganger running into the forest, and then the satyr stepped out between them and it. It couldn't be, but he's right. This thing could be anywhere in the forest, and it could look like almost anything. Oh, all right. Now what? The satyr continues. If you would seek and are not fools, you would look to the sorcerer's pool. The sorcerer's pool? What do you mean the sorcerer's pool? Visions it will give to you if you are worthy to win through. Visions it will give to us. What do you mean, visions? The satyr is elusive again and vague, and I don't remember exactly what I said to get out of giving them a straight answer, but he refuses to give any more information. The sorcerer's pool, well, where is the sorcerer's pool? You find it when you are ready. Or when it is, so do be steady. I'm sorry, that was the best rhyme I could come up with in the moment, all right? Once again, there's divided opinion. What should we do? Touchberry is all for just leaving. He wants to go home. But the rest say, no, this sounds interesting. We should go after this. Where is the pool? Can you direct us? Can you send us in the right direction at least? The satyr says nothing, but he takes up his pipes and begins to play. And as he plays, the characters see color emerging from the pipes, the sound like colored light emerging and flowing around them and swirling around them and taking them and making them sway to the music and become so sleepy. And down they go. The upside of this is that they get to recover some hit points. I have them all roll 1d6 plus 1 to recover hit points, which is my standard for a full night's sleep. Even before they entered Babblebrook, they were low-ish on hit points from the werewolves that they had fought on their way to the Snarewood and from the caves in the Snarewood that they had explored. So they were already down a little bit, and then they fought the guards and the doppelganger, and so they're further down, further down. It's actually not desperate times, but it's a little iffy. So this helps. It bucks them up a little bit, and they wake up refreshed and ready to go. But when they wake up, they're surrounded by a fog, a deep, thick fog everywhere. They can't see. The most they're able to do is locate the path that brought them into this clearing. So they could leave at this point, and Touchberry does vote for leaving, but the rest of the group outvotes him. They decide they're going to seek out the Sorcerer's Pool. Great, I say. Which direction do you go? That way, right? It's foggy, so they can't see much, plus they have no idea which direction the thing is in to start with. They just pick a direction and go. So I begin to roll randomly. Now, I have not mapped out the Coille Dhìomhair specifically. I haven't set where things are very specifically. I do have a crude map, you'll see later, but mostly it's just going to be random rolling. I have a number of encounters planned. I also have some random monsters, some wandering monsters that I've got set to roll up in case we run into one. So I know what they might run into, I know what's out there, and what I decide to do is simply roll each round, and they either get a wandering monster, they get one of the set encounters, or they get nothing, just more woods. Now, this is going to take a while. There's a 1 in 6 chance that they'll have one of these set encounters. There's a 1 in 6 chance that they'll hit a wandering monster, and there's 4 out of 6 that they're just exploring terrain, right? We don't take a huge amount of time over that, and I'm not going to narrate the whole thing, how many turns they went this way, that way, this way, that way, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to get to the first interesting bits. The first positive hit I get when I'm rolling the 1d6 to see if they have an encounter, the first positive hit is one of the set pieces, one of the set encounters. So I then roll a 1d4 because I've got 4 of them planned out, things that they're going to encounter through the Coille Dhìomhair. As they make their way through the forest, they can see a slight clearing ahead where light is pouring in. It is still morning now. Their sleep took them to the next day. The light is pouring in to the clearing, and there in the center of the clearing is a knot of trees, in the midst of which grows one large tree. But that's not what arrests their vision. They see, moving about in the clearing, a woman, all green with leaves as her clothing. My eldest immediately identifies it. That's a dryad. Oh, this is going to be trouble. I'm not entirely sure where he figured out dryads are trouble, but they kind of are. They don't like intruders, they don't like strangers, and if they perceive you as a threat, they'll cast a charm and draw you into their tree, which will swallow you. And unless you are, according to the rulebook, immediately rescued, doesn't define what immediately means. How many rounds does immediately imply? Anyhow, unless you're immediately rescued, you're dead. You're just dead. So they decide we're just going to avoid her. We're going to go all the way around. We're going to make a nice wide circuit of her clearing. We're not going anywhere near her. But there is some conversation that maybe she has information. Maybe she knows where this Sorcerer's Pool is. In fact, she does. Magical creature, magical pool. She kind of knows what's going on in the forest. But in order to get that information out of her, they would have to approach her very carefully, as non-threatening as they could be, and offer her gold. This dryad loves gold, 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 loves gold. The only thing she loves more than gold is her tree, and it is her tree in which she stores the gold, in hollows underneath the roots. There's a large cache of gold, and if they pay her, she will give them the information, although she will also give it in vague terms. It will be kind of helpful. At any rate, they decide not to bother. They decide to go well around her clearing. They're already tromping through the bush anyway. There's no path here. They're just tromping through the woods. And I say, it's not easy going. There's a lot of underbrush. There's a lot of undergrowth here. So it's not an easy path. And sometimes the weeds and the branches seem to grab onto your legs. Never serious enough to cause huge trouble, but enough to feel unwelcome. And still, every once in a while, a run of whispers through the trees. At any rate, they avoid her altogether, and on they go, and they continue to faff around in the forest. Eventually, they faff right into a giant rat's nest. They just stumble onto it, right? Because they don't know quite where they're going, and they're seeing animal tracks now and then. They ask, are there any tracks to follow? Well, so yeah, there's tracks. There's deer tracks and raccoons and coyotes and foxes and everything, right? The forest is full of life. So when it comes to rat tracks, they don't really notice until it's too late. They stumble into a rat's nest and they are attacked. Roll for initiative. It has, however, been a very long time since half a dozen giant rats would be any trouble at all to this party, so they kill them all. Faux Fire does get bitten and has to roll a save versus poison, but she rolls like an 18. She makes it easy, so no problem there. They don't even bother looking for the nest. There's a little bit of treasure in there, nothing big. They don't even bother looking for it in case there's more rats. Why bother? Why tempt fate that way? They just go around that area and keep going. This next encounter was one I was really looking forward to because I really liked the mini, and I wanted to see how they'd get around it, how they'd solve it. How they did was, anyway. They're making their way through the forest, and they see, through the trees, the outlines of the ruins of a building. It was, as they later find out, a smithy. It was a forge. They don't know this at the moment, though, and they decide to send Touchberry ahead to scout it out. At first, they think that Faux Fire should go as the thief. She could sneak forward. But then they remember, oh yeah, we're in the forest. Halfling. Send him. They're almost invisible. I think it's 1 in 10 they can be found in the forest. So, send the halfling. Touchberry creeps up soft and quiet near to the building. Trees grow through the foundations. It is in utter ruin. He sees there the collapsed stones. He makes out something which he will later learn is actually the forge, the heart of the smithy. But he also sees, moving, some large, reddish-brown creature. It emerges from behind a pile of stones. A rust monster. He heads back to the party to let them know. Rust monster. Okay, Bob Johnny, stay away from the place. Right, he's got plate armor. It's one of the big advantages he has is that really good armor class. Don't go anywhere near the place. You're gonna end up in a pile of rust. Okay, are magic weapons, are they susceptible? I don't think rust monsters can take down magic weapons, can they? I don't know. Maybe they can. They can, as a matter of fact. The first hit to a magic weapon, there is a chance that it will be, and a pretty good chance, there's a chance that it will have its magic stripped away from it. And the next time it gets hit, then it's rust. So, this would not have been a good idea. In fact, the best idea would have been to send a Faux Fire in with her bow and arrow. Because, leave her sword behind, just go in with almost nothing metal on her, and just shoot it with arrows. They decide not to do that, however. They go for something probably even more effective. Fleetwood, who's wearing a dragon scale armor now, remember, he's not wearing his chainmail anymore. That was melted by the slime several adventures ago. He's wearing the dragon scale armor. He strips off all metal equipment that he has, walks over to the place, he sees the creature snuffling around, and he casts Sleep. And down it goes. Well, that was easier than I wanted it to be. But good use of the spell. He goes back, gets his equipment on, and they all head back to the forge. Now, at first, they don't want to go in there at all. They don't want to wake the thing up. And I say, no, it's a sleep spell. You have to actively try to wake the thing up. As long as you're not yelling and shouting, it's not going to wake. All right, let's search the place. They think there might be some treasure. And I don't know why, because the rust monster would have rusted it all, because apparently gold can rust in BECMI. Why not? Okay. But they think, well, maybe there's some gems. I don't know why they would think that a smithy would have a bunch of gems, but that's why they decide to search, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did, because while they didn't find any gems, they did find this. Carved into a pillar that forms one of the corners of this building, carved into a stone set in that pillar, is this pictogram, map. They decide that it's a map. It's kind of map-shaped, and they figure that the square shape is the smithy where they are, and the round shape is the Sorcerer's Pool. They figure the curvy line is probably a stream. They don't know what the 3 triangles are. At first they think that those triangles are the spinney of trees, the copse of trees where the Dryad was. And so they think they've come down from what would be north, if you oriented this map in a normal way, that they've come down from the north, found the forge, and now they have to retrace in a way, kind of loop back. That is not true, but at the moment that's what they assume. Now, Fleetwood wants to make a copy of this map, but he doesn't have any paper other than his spellbook, and he doesn't want to write it in the spellbook, so he asks, are there any birch trees around here? Oh, clever. I'll give it a 10% chance that some of the trees in this area are birch. I roll it up, I rolled a 7. So yeah, there's birch trees out there. He goes and he strips off some bark and uses some soot, like from the lamp or something, to write out the map, a crude version of the map. And what it amounts to is I'm holding the thing up and my player is writing it down and copying the map. So he's got a copy of the map now. I tell them it is around noon at this point. It's actually a little after noon, and the halfling is getting hungry. So they decide they're going to have their noon meal. It is around this time the fog begins to lift. The noon sun is now beating down, and it's been clearing up a little bit over the past hour or two, but it really begins to lift now that the sun is coming direct down, and the air is becoming clearer. They can see further. As this happens, as they're eating, emerging in the distance, they see 3 large rocks, almost mountains, not quite. 3 huge rocks that protrude above the line of the trees that stick up into the sky. 3 of them, and immediately they go, oh, that's what the 3 triangles are. It's those rocks, those hills, those mountains. Okay, that's it. And I have to admit, I got this from the Hardy Boys, because the Hardy Boys rock. Now, figuring they have a way to orient themselves, if the square is the foundry, it is, and if the 3 triangles are the rocks, they are, then they have an idea of which direction they need to go to reach the pool, and in that direction they now head. As they proceed, I roll another set encounter. As they proceed, they begin to see trails in the forest, here and there, one running this way, that way. They're still pretty sure they need to head in that direction, but the trails are becoming more dense. They look like they were made by something large, and in a couple of them, they see hoof marks. So now they're wondering, are there horsemen in here? Is there some sort of, little tribe in here, a little village in here? What are they going to find? Well, you probably can tell. A centaur. This centaur lives alone. Living alone, it means that he never, gets the kind of common colds that other people get. He never catches the flu, so he's a centaur for disease control. Sorry, I know. I'm ashamed of myself. They come to a place where one of the paths runs roughly in the direction they want to go, so they decide to use it. It's a lot easier. They make their way through the woods, and they approach ahead of them an area where the trees have been brought together to form a sort of cave, almost. A grotto is what I called it. A sort of grotto underneath the trees. They approach carefully what might live in a thing like that. Something that knows, how to manipulate the environment, so it's not just a bear or something. What might live in there? As they approach, charging from the darkness within, comes the massive centaur, bow drawn, aiming right at them. What are you doing in my forest? Ah! Okay, this is where my players go off the rails a little bit. I don't know if it's frustration at how confusing everything is, or just getting cocky, but my eldest, Fleetwood, starts mouthing off to the centaur. Like, bad idea mouthing off to a centaur. You know how centaurs just love to be disrespected, right? Well, that's what he starts to do. We're searching for the Sorcerer's Pool. Let us through. You will not come through my home. Well, we're coming through these woods. They're not just your woods, and Touchberry's helping him here. Touchberry's itching for a fight. Yeah, they're not just your woods, they're everybody's woods. Oh no, they're not everybody's woods, they actually are his woods, but they've decided that they're not gonna take any guff from this guy, so they say, we're gonna go ahead. We're just gonna go around your house here. And he says, if you move 1 foot in that direction, I will shoot you. So, Fleetwood moves in that direction. Thwack! Arrow strikes him, and it's a good solid hit, does 5 points of damage. Fleetwood immediately retaliates, and so does Touchberry, and so does Bob Johnny. As it happens, both Fleetwood and Bob Johnny roll nat 20s, and in our game, a nat 20 means you roll twice for damage and then add your bonuses. So between Fleetwood, and Touchberry rolls like a 19 to hit, and he does some damage, I think it's 8 points or something, and then Bob Johnny, they kill the centaur in one round. Down he goes. Foefire then says, "Why didn't you just web him?" To which the others reply, "Oh yeah, we could have webbed him." Oh well. So now they have essentially committed murder. Yes, the centaur shot first, but yes, they were trespassing on his property. They were in his home. He had told them what he was going to do. Ugh, we are not happy with this. The DM keeps this in mind because, well, you'll see later why. The one saving grace is they don't loot his house. I did put treasure in there, just in case this happened and they decided to go on a looting spree. I did put treasure in there, but they don't bother. They just go right around. They say, well, we're going to keep going. Both the DM and Foefire are a little disappointed. There's some more tromping through the woods. Again, I'm not going to narrate all of that. The next thing they come to, again by roll, the next thing they come to is a small clearing, at the far side of which stands an enormous boulder. This is just a rock that my middle guy found down at the river near our church. Anyway, an enormous boulder riddled with holes. They hear a fluttering, buzzing sound coming from this boulder. They approach cautiously, but not cautiously enough. They get within 50 feet of this boulder when suddenly, erupting from a number of the holes, come these brown, furry, furious little balls, sturges, that swarm and head right for them. The first question is, how many sturges? I say, you can't count. It's at least a dozen. They've had an experience with 6. They decide a dozen is probably too many. They turn around and they run. Problem is, their running speed is nowhere near as fast as the sturges' flying speed. So I begin to track how far they can get before the sturges show up. The sturges will give up and turn around at 250 feet away from their nest. That's what that rock has become, a huge nesting place for sturges. They will give up at 250 feet, they'll turn around and go back. Yeah, the characters can't get 250 feet before the sturges attack. So, as they are coming in, I see you can hear the fluttering of the wings coming behind you. Fleetwood turns around and casts Web. He casts it across the trees and around just as the sturges near it. And I say, okay, and I roll. How many get caught in the web? 4 of them get caught in the web. He's reduced the number. The rest fly around and continue the pursuit. That delay, however, was enough to give the characters a chance to run again. They get a little more distance when, again, they're getting close. Bob Johnny turns around, web. Maybe it was a good thing that they didn't use the web on the centaur after all, because this time it catches, I think it catches 3, maybe another 4. They get caught in there, but again, more of them come around and under, etc., between strands, and continue the pursuit. We're down now to 5 sturges chasing, and the characters are out of ammunition. They're out of ways to avoid this. They turn to fight. Bam! Into them, ram the sturges, and battle ensues. One of them strikes Foefire and begins to draw blood. Foefire was already in a bad position. She loses more and more and more. It takes 3 rounds before they can finally get the thing off of her, because they're also fighting other sturges at the same time. Eventually, though, paff, poof, poff, and then they finally kill the one that has been sucking the lifeblood out of Foefire, who's trying to hit it, but it's kind of hard when it's on your back, right? So they defeat these things and decide, all right, we're going to go way around that one. We're not going to come anywhere near the thing. This puts them off course, right? They can still see the stones, and they think they're going in the right direction. And I have no idea, because I didn't make a map. I want them to eventually reach the pool, so I don't really want to send them off. Anyway, they think they're going the right direction, but they know they need to go way around this thing. So that does delay them and divert them. More tromping through the forest, and then I roll a random encounter. Bugbear. I kind of conceived this forest in being enchanted, full of animals, and full of magical beings, dryads, centaurs, that kind of thing. Things that are just a little bit in the fantasy. I know the whole thing's fantasy, bugbears are fantasy, but in the more fantastic of the fantasy. And bugbears are kind of a grubby monster, right? I really wasn't planning on that. But I threw the bugbear in there because why not? And it landed on bugbear. Okay. Here's an idea. Bugbear crashes out of the woods at them. Remember, they surprise, almost always gain the surprise. They ambush, crashes into them from behind. The bugbear's idea was to attack the halfling. He saw it as small, easy prey, snatch it, and run away. He didn't know that the halfling in question was Touchberry. Wham goes Touchberry, oof goes the bugbear, battle on. But before it can go any further, Bob Johnny casts Charm. And the bugbear fails his saving throw. Hello! Oh gosh, we've got another friendly monster. What are we going to do? The bugbear sees Bob Johnny as his best friend, right? As the spell describes. Welcome. What doing, forest? When come forest? Why not tell me? Welcome, forest. Good see you. Oh man, my acting skills are just not up to this, are they? Okay, so now they've got this bugbear buddy, and all of them hate it. Bob Johnny is happy about it, but the rest of them are like, oh, now we've got to be saddled with this guy. What do we do with him? Because although they just slaughtered a centaur a little while ago, they don't think that they can just kill this guy. You know, they don't want to just kill him. Even though he was ready to grab a halfling and have a snack off in the bushes, they don't want to kill him, right? Oh, okay, well, how do we get rid of him? They never once think of just telling him, wait here, we'll be right back. They did something similar with the troglodyte, but they don't think of that. And they're coming up with all these elaborate ways to get rid of him. Meanwhile, he says, oh, come, meet tribe, big feast, have big feast, welcome you, and filthy friends, welcome you. Okay, this again. The troglodyte wanted to introduce everybody to his group as well, his family. So now, so does the bugbear. Well, what do you mean your tribe? How many are in your tribe? More than fingers. Okay, yeah, I'm playing the bugbear for humor. More than fingers? Because bugbears are bugbears, right? I mean, a goblin would be able to count. An orc, a kobold, they would be able to count. A gnoll, no. A bugbear, no. More than fingers? Okay, I don't think we want to fight more bugbears than he has fingers. And of course, they know that if they go to that tribe, the tribe isn't charmed and won't be so happy to see Bob Johnny or anybody else. Where is your tribe? Big rocks, tribe, big rocks. Come. And he dives off into the bushes, emerging a moment later to say, come. This is a little bit like Smeagol here. Okay, let's follow him. Until we can think of something else, let's follow him. Again, I don't know why they don't just leave. But anyway, okay, they follow him. And they find off of the sort of rough ground they'd been traveling, just off to it, there is a concealed trail made by the bugbears, which allows them to go back and forth very quickly. Remember, in my world, bugbears are really fast. They're almost simian, and they travel a little like apes, sometimes using their arms. It's mostly because of this guy. The shape of him just suggests monkey to me. Anyway, he scoots it down that trail and then stops and has to wait for them. Again, I'm channeling Smeagol. But anyway, he shoots off and they follow after. And as they go, they're given all these opportunities because he's way ahead. They're given all these opportunities to talk it through. What are we going to do? We can't fight the whole tribe. I say we fight the tribe. Let's kill them all. Thanks, Touchberry, but no. What are we going to do? How are we going to get out of this? What are we going to do with him? Hi! Yes. Go ahead. We'll follow. How are we going to get rid of him? Okay, this goes on for a little while, longer than it should have, before my wife finally says, let's just ditch him. Tell him to go ahead. And start the party. Start the fire for that. And tell him we'll bring a deer. We'll hunt. We'll bring a deer. Tell him to go get a fire started so we can roast it. Anything. Just get rid of him. Tell him to head off on his own, and we'll go this way. that's what they do. As soon as he's, you go ahead and get the party started. Tell everyone we're coming. Bad idea, that one. Tell everyone we're coming. Get a big fire started. We'll bring the deer. Off he runs. And into the bushes. The heroes go, making a bit of noise, but he thinks they're going to be hunting anyway, so they crash off, trying to find the stream. And they have it in mind that if they pass the stream, they're going to be safe for the evening. And in fact, that is true. They reach the stream. It's not a huge thing, but it's sizable enough. And they go to the middle of it and then walk upstream for, I don't know, a mile or two, and then cross over. That way, hopefully, if the bugbear follows their tracks, if the bugbear follows their scent, he won't be able to track them to the other side, at least not immediately. As they're heading up the stream, I tell them it is getting close to nightfall, and your feet are freezing at this point. You need to find a place to make camp, and you're going to need a fire, and that's going to attract attention. But you're going to have it. Your feet are freezing at this point. Okay, so they go inland, and I let them find a kind of a hollow, because it's your average forest. It's high places, low places. There's a little hollow place. If you build your fire in there, you might escape detection. I also, because we've got some scattered terrain out, I also throw some boulders around it. Okay, hopefully we can put the fire on the other side of the boulder from the stream, and that will keep us better screened. Very well. Bed down for the night. Set the watch, and all around you, you hear the sounds of the forest.